Welcome to another exciting edition to Grove City Hockey Presents
Hockey in our neck of the woods, and you, sir, were a very talked about person towards the end.
I'm a fifth-year senior, kind of. Well, it's my sixth year of college. Incredible.
Hey guys, we want to say thank you to our sponsor, Cut Shield, for bringing you this episode. Make sure you check them out on the link below and use the promo code for 25% off your order. Used by all 32 NHL teams and players, Cut Shield is the premier protective player clothing designed by players for players. Their innovative cut-resistant clothing has prevented serious injury to numerous players, including over 30 NHL players. Cut Shield gives you the peace of mind to go out and play without worrying about injury. Use our promo code Grove City Hockey, all lowercase and no space, for an additional 25% off your order today. Welcome to GCH Podcast. I'm your host, Ben W. Stock, and with me is a very special guest. I've got the Marketing Director for MIHWA, Michael Enright. How you doing tonight, Mike?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me tonight.
I appreciate you taking the time to jump on the pod and talk a little hockey shop with us. But yeah, so you are the director or the Marketing Director of MIHWA, which is what's the acronym stand for?
It's basically Masters Inline Roller Hockey, right? And you're essentially providing an amazing tournament experience internationally for players that are 38 and over. Yeah. A lot of us in that age bracket still have the hunger and desire to play. There aren't many organizations that provide the platform or the stage that MIHWA does, and this has been since 2016 playing as a participant in this organization. But honestly, this is my first year being asked to support MIHWA on the back end. Okay. And it's something that I'm very passionate about. I love spreading this game, to all parts of the world. And when they asked me if I would want to be a part of this, I jumped at it, and don't volunteer, but it's something that I'm very passionate about. And if we don't do it, I think things kind of get thrown by the wayside, and you're missing out. So it's really important that whoever does support and work for MIHWA voluntarily, passion for this sport.
Yeah. So now, why don't we start with how you got into the sport of hockey, or in general roller hockey, because this really is a roller hockey podcast, but we do cover all things hockey related. So how did you get your start into roller hockey, or actually just in general in hockey? Was it something you started out, playing in the streets, or were you more of an ice hockey guy growing up? Why don't you give us a little background?
Yeah, it's interesting because growing up in Valley Stream, Long Island, I think this town, right, this town started playing roller hockey on quads with, outdoors on the concrete and the asphalt. You had Titan sticks, you had Coho gloves and Milex shin guards and quads. Your quads were either Chicago Wayne Gretzky 99s, or you had Tor Max 3000s, and you were using a roll of tape that you buy from a hardware store in a variety of different colors, whether it's yellow or orange. And the older that roll of tape was, the more it slid around on the surface properly. The newer the tape was, the more difficult it was to keep flat. But growing up, my dad got me into hockey. He was actually a hockey player himself, and he went away as a boarding student to a school called Mount St. Charles Academy in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. This was an ice hockey powerhouse that have been around since the 40s, and they've they've set state records for Rhode Island and the United States for high school hockey for years and years. But he went as a boarding student. That's when your parents send you away and you're living there 24/7, working on the property and paying your tuition that way. So long story short, he got me into the game and supported me, at least playing roller hockey. And ice hockey was something that I think was expensive at the time. Back in the 80s, not many families had that money to spread to have you go play ice hockey. So I played pickup, and I would go to puck shoots or whatever in ice hockey, but my ice skating wasn't where I'd want it to be. Probably still isn't, but the roller hockey really kept me in line and got me into the sport of hockey in general. And I assimilated what I was doing to what I was watching on TV. Fortunately for people that were playing hockey in my, I guess, in town, Long Island, Nassau County, you had the Rangers and the Islanders that were this heated rivalry. And the Islanders won the cup 4 years in a row. And the Rangers were always that little stepchild that never had all of the talent it needed to compete with the Islanders. But living here, it really gave anyone who was into the sport that extra edge that you needed to play. You always had the Islanders and Rangers being competitive and always on TV and being successful to the point where that's what gave you the fuel to play after school. So that's, I think, one of the reasons why roller hockey in Valley Stream has been so powerful and a force in the sport, because you had everyone playing at one point or another. I would say 90% of the kids were playing inline hockey or roller hockey in the mid 80s in Valley Stream. So I was fortunate just to be a part of that.
That's incredible, because I guess it's more of an area by area. So you're seeing a lot of inline out in New York. You see a lot of inline in Detroit. You see a lot of inline out in Cali, and then you see a lot of inline down in Florida. And then of course you see in the Philly region and the Pittsburgh region in Pennsylvania. And it's one of those things where it's really cool to see like little pockets pop up. But in your case, where you had just about everybody was playing, that's pretty cool. And then it's just got to, be some of the best hockey players in the world were playing right there with you, at the grassroots start of it. And then from there, where did it take you?
I think after maybe 7 or 8 years of playing roller hockey and playing against older players, you got more competitive, and there was hitting in roller hockey, mind you, and the boards were wooden boards, and above the boards were fences, so this was a pretty physical time period for roller hockey in general. I think I was 15 when I was asked to play in a tournament, and the tournament was out east in Long Island, Miller Place, it might have been. And this was 18, 19-year-old kids that asked me to play. And I was honored, number one, and scared, number two, because I've never left my town to play a tournament. I never played against anyone else other than people in my town. So it was an interesting experience. I might have had 3 or 4 shifts a game, but it was an amazing time, because you're playing a sport that you love outside your town against other competition. And it opened my eyes to a lot of things that allowed me to compete in future tournaments. From there, I think after Miller Place, we started to do tournaments in Voorhees, New Jersey against the 99ers. And it was indoors. You didn't have to worry about the weather. It was on roll-on concrete, and you're using a Jaffa speed puck, and it was 4-on-4, not 5-on-5, and it was a whole new ball game for us. Like, you love the speed, you love the open ice, you love the fact that you weren't getting rained on, and you're playing in another state. So you have a road trip, you're hanging out with some older guys that can drive, and it was just, that's where rivalry started. So Valley Stream Wolves started, and then you're playing against Todd's 99ers, and that was it. no looking back from there. And you started hearing about Narch. My first Narch tournament was 93 in St. Louis. Valley Stream Wolves played, and that was when, at least for this division, you had the gold and the platinum division, right? And certain teams were already seated in the platinum division, and we were in the gold division. And we must have played 6 games in the gold division. We came in third, so the first 3 teams can go onto the platinum division. So we played 6 games in the gold, and then we played 6 more games in the platinum, and we lost in the finals to the 99ers. This little old nobody team from Valley Stream.
Right.
We had 2 players wearing quads still, so that was interesting. But it was just an amazing experience. You know, we didn't quit. We some games we were down by 4 or 5 goals, and we just had a no quit attitude. What we loved about this rink in St. Louis, All American Sports Mall, is that above you was a bar, and if your games were at night, you had this rambunctious crowd drinking their buds and Bud Lights, cheering you on because you never quit, you know, and you showed this attitude that wasn't the norm in roller hockey, and that's where we started to make a name for ourselves out in St. Louis.
Yeah, and then you had a couple of interesting teammates too, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some players that still play, and then there are some players that don't play. But growing up, we played with like Eric Weishabama, Ziggy Marzalak, Chris Monzadelos. Like, those are the 3 guys from Valley Stream that really branched out into tournament hockey, and those 3 guys were the ones that linked with LeBeta out west. And what was really incredible, you know, as a 17-year-old being asked to play with these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids sponsored by LeBeta, the sponsor wasn't like, here's a set of wheels. The sponsor was full ride.
Yeah.
And I've never experienced anything like that before. And I was so appreciative. It got to the point where you didn't want to mess up because you didn't want to ruin the opportunity you were having. I remember the first tournament we were away, I was in bed by 8 o'clock drinking Gatorade, you know, like, and as a kid at 19, 18, people are giving you beers or whatever. And I was like, no, Gatorade's fine. I want to play really well tomorrow. I was so appreciative of what I was offered by LeBeta. From that moment on, this was 94, 95, that relationship still stands to this day. And I'm still hanging out with Rob Chernomet in tournaments, and Scott and Kurt LeBeta and Kevin LeBeta. And every time we meet, it's like, you know, I just want to show my appreciation to LeBeta for their product and their support over the years. So that's where it started.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then from there, you started to branch out and play in some Major League roller hockey, right?
Yeah. It's kind of a blend of tournament hockey and back to your roots, playing in Barrett Park and Valley Stream with hitting. So it was the idea originally. You had a tryout, right? So everyone went to tryouts, and the tryouts was full hit, full fight. And if you made it, you'd get a call by a scout named Dan Delaney. He was the scout, at least at my tryout. I tried out in Baltimore, of all places. And it was a great experience. And they called you about a week later, said, hey, we want to offer you a contract for the New York Riot out of Long Island. And we're going to have an organization that you'll be paid. You know, they'll be paying you every week. You'll be traveling, and you'll have some games in the United States and then some games in Scotland or England. We were like, what?
Yeah.
How's that going to happen? At least that was the original plan. Major League roller hockey. It just never took off that way. I think economically it didn't make sense. So we ended up just playing in the United States, and then we were in a bus league. So what was ironic is that this was our season as roller hockey players. And a lot of the teams had pro ice hockey players that wasn't really their season. This was their off season, and they were hanging out and screwing around. But we cared so much because this was the closest we've come to pro hockey. And what got in the way, I think, for us is that we didn't have many big guys on our team. And like I said, it was full hit, full fight. The rule that they instituted was 3 fights per player per game before you're kicked out. So we had some tough battles with some of these players out there, guys that are in the AHL, IHL, and the East Coast League with 300 PIMs a season. It kind of opened our eyes a little bit. Again, we didn't give up. We played hard. I think we went 2 games over 500 that year. But it was, again, a great experience traveling, playing hockey, and getting paid to do it. So interesting. You had 2 years for Major League Roller Hockey for the New York Riot.
Yeah, that's and then I actually played in 2009, 2010, right in that time frame. So I know exactly what full contact, full fight. I mean, it's legit, just like playing in the NHL. You're doing everything you can to make it work, and I mean, we lost to the Detroit Revolution in our playoff battle, and yeah, man, it was. I mean, ask Mike Francis about Major League Roller Hockey; he'll tell you.
Yeah, I mean, we played. We were in Anaheim. We played in the pond against the Anaheim Bullfrogs, and some of these teams were legit. And it was, again, you talk about your journey and your learning curve as you're developing. You need to experience things like this to understand what it takes to compete to get to the next level. If you don't, when it does happen, you're not going to be prepared for it. And I think that's one of the biggest knowledge gaps or deltas in a player versus another player. It's the lack of experience in certain situations, because the game's changed, right? It's not the same. So I thank my experience every day, because I'm fortunate to go through these different levels of hockey.
Yeah, and then from there, did you actually go to college?
Yeah, I kind of went a little backwards. After I graduated high school in '94, and then I went to a 2-year community college for restaurant management, and that was fun. But I graduated that 2-year school in '96. Took some time off from going to school, traveled a lot, played a lot of hockey, and then I went to I was working for Rink Rat before Rink Rat was Rink Rat. It was myself and Mikey Hunt. I was living in Boston at the time, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to rep our brand?" I said, "Sure." So started working for Rink Rat, and at our meeting, there was a gentleman from St. Louis that came out. He was the rep from St. Louis, and he told me about Lindenwood University. And they were like, "Hey, are you looking to go back to school? Because I know a lot of people that can kind of help you get back in." And I said, "Sure, I'll check it out." And they gave me a number to call Derek Schaub, and Derek Schaub is the athletic director. And I played against Derek Schaub a couple of times in Norwich and St. Louis, and he played with like Perry Turnbull and those guys out there. And
oh yeah.
He'll always tell the story about how one time I tried to fight Perry Turnbull, but I don't think I was trying to fight him. I just think I was trying to be a tough New Yorker that wouldn't take shit. But nonetheless, it's a funny story. But I gave him a call, and he said, "Yeah, come on down. I'll give you an opportunity to go back to school." So I packed my shit up and got in the car and drove out to St. Louis and went to school from 2003 to 2005. And played ice hockey and roller hockey out in Lindenwood University. And one of the experiences that I didn't think I was going to have was helping younger kids that should be going to school at that age, not like me. I was a little older.
Right.
But the relationships I built from both guys and girls were great, because I had the experience of life already, at least a little bit. And some of these kids, they needed to be steered back in the lane a little bit when it came to decision making. Do I make this decision and go out till 2 a.m. and not worry about school the next day, or things like that, or relationships, right? If you can help someone with a relationship, whether it's a guy or a girl. I ended up just supporting a lot of people with some decisions that they had to make, just giving advice and sharing, and And if it helped them, that was great, and that's something I didn't expect to do. But one of the most rewarding parts about going to school.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, was Bielstein there while you were there, or was he just
Yeah.
after? Yeah,
Ron Bielstein was my coach.
Yeah.
Actually, I just spoke to him this morning. Actually, it was his birthday yesterday, so happy birthday, Ron. He was my coach for the time that I was there, and ice hockey, we had Derek Schaub as my coach, but roller hockey, yeah, Ron was coaching the powerhouse of Lindenwood, and it was an amazing experience. I've always played against teams from St. Louis and against Ron for years. But yeah, he was our coach, and we won both years.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I had JP on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking to me about trying to get his dad to hop on. So hopefully we can make that happen, because that'll be great. I'd love to talk to him about that thrilling triple overtime loss that they had against GCU, Grand Canyon University. And yeah, I mean, that would be. I had Aiden Schweitz on, who founded, him and one other guy founded Grand Canyon University's roller hockey program, and that kid is phenomenal kid to talk to, and he also went to Lindenwood for a year, and so it's one of those things. It's like, it's kind of cool to see the Lindenwood guys branching out, creating a program, starting a program up, getting it going from the ground level up, and then trying to piece everything together to make roller hockey really good.
Yeah, if you think about, Ron is a staple in inline hockey. That man gives back so much to the sport, and people are fortunate to either play for him or just be in his path when it comes to the sport. So kudos to him. But you look at State Wars, what State Wars has done for the sport. I know Tim McManus is the founder of it, but you have Greg Thompson. Greg Thompson was my roommate in Lindenwood, and he's another amazing individual who has passion for the sport, loves to promote it, but loves to give back to the sport in a way that it's one of the reasons why roller hockey is thriving right now. So another as well.
Yeah, no, I've definitely reached out to both of them. Tim said he would definitely do the pod, because I want to talk to him about Team USA and how they're gonna develop the junior program that they've been talking about. To compete with some of these younger, not young. I don't want to say younger teams, but these young up and coming countries that come out of nowhere, like that Chinese Taipei team. Now you got Namibia coming up the works, with what they're bringing to the table, both their junior men's and their junior women's and senior women's program that they have over there. I coached over there in Namibia, so I could see that wave was coming probably 10 years ago, and it's nice to finally see it start to hit and give. And as much as I love Team USA dominating, every year, it's nice to see those games, really be close in a battle instead of getting, a 10-1 game here, there. It's nice to see those other countries, finally starting to, hey, they put their time in, they're doing what they need to do, and they're getting rewarded for their efforts, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's important that countries like Team USA realize, in order for this sport to continue flourishing and growing, you have to give back as well, right? You can't just go through your journey as a hockey player and say, okay, I'm going to compete, I'm going to develop, and I'm going to just keep it in my backyard, right? So. Right. Myself, I'll be honest with you, I'm fortunate to be married to someone from Brazil. We go down there once a year, and that sport in Brazil, the sport of inline hockey in Brazil, is so impressive how it's been growing leaps and bounds.
Yeah, I'm
saying leaps and bounds. They all have the heart, they all have the speed. They didn't have the hockey sense. Now they're developing the hockey sense, and they're incorporating the game with a little bit of soccer, a little bit of football as well. And the way these players are playing right now, many teams like the United States and Canada and the powerhouses don't like it because they don't like being bothered over and over and over again. They don't like being pestered and followed around the rink. They want to have their space, and these Brazilians do not quit. When we do go down there, we visit an area called Amparo, which is just outside of, I would say, an hour and 45 minutes outside of Sao Paulo.
Okay.
There's 3 rinks in Amparo.
Wow.
And all 3 rinks have still mat. Think about that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's what I said when I saw it last year.
Wow.
They're invested.
Really cool.
It's not only the team that's invested, it's the city and the governing body that are invested. They're behind the push of inline hockey. They don't need a compressor to keep the ice going, but the kids love the sport. So we go down there, we donate as much equipment as possible, and we do as many camps as possible. Peter Dale is doing a lot of camps down there, and it's not just Brazil, it's Colombia, right? Argentina. These countries are starting to figure it out. So I don't think any country is safe. Any powerhouse country is no longer safe because they're starting to get it. And in Namibia, like you mentioned, they're figuring it out.
Oh yeah, and it's only a matter of time before it's just going to keep growing and growing.
Yeah.
I know when I was there, they had 5 clubs, 500 members, maybe a little bit, maybe right around the 550, 565 or whatever. But I hear it just keeps growing each year. And then on top of that, but then you have like the pro leagues in Spain, Italy, France, the Czech Republic, Germany, as well. And a lot of the players over here don't even know about that. And to me, that's one of those things where it's like, hey, roller hockey is actually pretty big if you can get outside the country and go play. I mean, Switzerland has a nice tournament that they have as well. And Pama was able to go and represent and start to bring a little bit of that stuff to light as well. So it's really fascinating for me to see where we were, 10 years ago to where we are now. And not only that, but even longer than that, 20 years ago to, from when State Wars started. I think State Wars started 2003, 2002, somewhere right in there. And then, of course, you got NARS that started all the way back in 93, or even before that. And then and to where it's at now, I mean, you got all these teams coming in from those other countries as well that are putting in together at like home teams, like their local rinks from, from their home areas and just challenging like what we got here. And we don't really have like that pro type event outside of, Tours, State Wars, and NARCH. We have the big 3. What do you think is going to have to change in order for us to start to see more of a pro level event, kind of like what you've been seeing overseas as well?
That's a great question, because I think a lot of individuals who have pull in this sport have been trying to figure that out. Although I think they've been trying to figure it out on their own. You look at the RHI, how the RHI tried to take off and money issues got in the way because they got too big. Major League Roller Hockey as well. They had their eyes on the prize for a little bit, and I think things got too big and they couldn't compete with some of the contracts. It's tough. I think what you're missing is you need something to be sanctioned. You need a governing body. You need some kind of support from like overseas. They have state and country supporting, right? Here, that's not the case. It's all privately run, privately owned. The only way it's going to work is if and forgets that they have to make X amount of dollars it has to get off the ground somehow. If it doesn't, everything will remain status quo. We have to kind of see around corners and understand what's more important. Are we in for the battle or the war? And if we're in for the battle, which is what we've been doing, you're always going to have Narch Tour and State Wars, and that's it. You know, there are plenty of pro leagues overseas, like you mentioned, and they're looking for a lot of American talent.
Mm-hmm.
Last summer, I was working with a couple of players, and I had offer sheets from different countries, Italy, Spain, ready to say, hey, I want you to come over, you know, but I think the players kind of get scared at the experience in the first place. You know, there's a lot to offer.
Yeah.
But an experience like that, it'll change your life, you know. But back to your question, though, I really think there needs to be the bigger picture in mind, you know, and we need to pause on how much money we're making as individuals and figure out how we can promote this sport to make money down the line. There has to be an investment here.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100% there. You know, it's one of those things that, like, anybody can put on these high level tournaments, and not to knock any of them, because they're all great. They all have their pros. They all have their cons as well. But, you know, as a pure roller hockey fan, I love watching high quality, high fast paced quality hockey, you know, especially roller hockey. You know, I love watching Pat Maroon jump out and play, you know, at tours. I love watching, you know, Haji, you know, and Sigmund and Frankie Jirac and all of those guys, and Kyle Mooney, you know, and Etan Chavera, you know, always busting out there, you know, getting out there and showing us what they can do, because nobody else is going to be better than those guys. You know, and there's a ton more that I missed. You know, I mean, you've got Troy Redmond and all of these fantastic goaltenders out there as well. You know, do what they do because they love the game. And it's just one of those things where it's like, man, I can't get enough content to watch this, because I want to watch all of it, because it's so, for me, it's an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, and I agree with you saying that these three big tournaments, right, State Wars, Narch, and Tours, by no means are they not doing or holding their end of the bargain. They're an amazing experience, all three of them in their own way, and look forward to it every summer, because we're seeing our friends, we're seeing, you know, people we haven't seen in a while, and we're getting back, you know, into playing that high level competition. You're seeing the grassroots, the kids coming out of nowhere, that, you know, 8, 9, 10-year-old kids that are playing. So that's all amazing. Mm-hmm. But this pro circuit, this pro tournament, doesn't have to be in the summer.
Right.
This could be during the year, right? And it's possible. We just need more funding. We need more of a proper business plan to put this together for the long term. It is possible. Other countries do it. We haven't figured it out in the States yet.
Right. Yeah, and I hope that I am alive to be able to watch it and witness it come to fruition. But let's talk a little bit about MIHWA now. You got a big tournament coming up here in Jaca, Spain, right?
Yeah, in Jaca, 2.5 to 3 hours northwest of Barcelona.
Yeah,
at the base of the Pyrenees Mountains.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about that event. I'm not sure how many teams are going to be participating. I think it's 38 countries, if I'm not mistaken.
We ended up finishing at 36 teams.
Okay. About
16 to 17 different countries. And each country has the opportunity to play in the Masters division, the Veterans division, and Legends division. The Masters is 38 and over. The Veterans is 45 and over, and the Legends is 50 and over.
Yeah. And I had a chance to interview a couple guys from the 38 for the Masters and the Veterans. Mike Francis is one of my former teammates. He's actually playing with the veterans for the first time, and he is going to be one of the youngest players on that team or on that roster. And he was telling me about I don't think he's ever played where he's the youngest. So that was for him. It's going to be a unique stretch. And then, of course, I got a chance to talk to Meech with the Legends, and I've reached out to Rob Chorterman as well to try to get him on the pod to talk about roller hockey in general. I'm not really interested in hearing about Lebeda with him right now, but I just want to hear his story, how he got started, from start to where he's at now. But it's one of those things where it's like it's so cool to just to give a chance to these guys, to all of you guys that have really started us out from the beginning to where we're at now, and so I appreciate it.
Yeah, the first year we played, we had no idea what to expect. Tournament called us up and said, "Hey, you want to go over and play in Italy in Bolzano for roller hockey?" And we were like, I didn't even know they played roller hockey in Italy. Sure, let's go to a tournament. So we had 9 skaters and a goalie, and we get to Bolzano and we see the rink, and immediately we were like, we're in trouble because the rink is Olympic size.
Yeah,
you're playing on an Olympic size sheet with 9 skaters. The first year, it was 2 22-minute stop time.
Oof.
with
Ouch.
20 minutes in between the first and second half. Oof. So it was the longest. The warm-up was 10 minutes. The periods were 22-minute stop time, and in between you waiting 20 minutes. It was never experienced anything like this for you. You're sweating. You're in an old barn in Bolzano. There's zero air moving in the place, and I can't even imagine the goalie. Buffalino was like dropping weight, just hanging out, waiting for the puck to drop. And we ended up going to the finals that year. We lost to the Czech Republic 4-0. We might have touched the puck 3 or 4 times in that game, but it was a brand of roller hockey I've never experienced before. Earlier in the pod, we talked about you need to experience certain things in the sport.
Yeah.
This was a completely new brand of roller hockey that I've never seen ever. I've never seen cycling in your own zone in center ice ever in my life in roller hockey. In Czech, Italy, the Swiss, France, they were all cycling. And, United States, we're just run and gun right down your throat. We skate as hard as we can, north, south, and we figure it out as we go. And we had to change our game drastically, or else we weren't going to last. So it was an amazing experience.
Yeah. Well, and then not only that, but you're also skating with 4 or 5 guys less than what you probably should have had to accommodate for those long. That's a long game to have. That's a long game to play. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
12 what kind of shape you're in.
12 is the sweet spot. 6 and 6, 6 forward, 6D, and 2 goaltenders, and you're perfect.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely would agree with you there. That's that was something I learned in my coaching career in Major League. I was just like, oh yeah, I gotta run this and this here. Otherwise, yeah. So, but man, so can you go ahead and tell me what your favorite hockey moment is or memory that you have, whether it be playing, coaching, touring the country, or going around the world, playing this amazing game?
My favorite moment. Wow, there's a lot of them. I tell you now that I'm 47, turning 48, and I know you made a joke that Mikey Francis is the youngest player on our team right now. I'm the oldest player on the veterans team at 47, 48. So things, your love and your likes change a little bit as you go. I think when I was younger, I would say by far is winning championships with either Lindenwood University or you're playing for your tournament team with Norwich or State Wars or whatever. But I think now giving back is really what drives me. Going down to areas like I mentioned in Brazil and just donating equipment, showing players how to skate or shoot the puck a certain way, and when they have that joy and that love, they're like, "Wow, I had no idea. Thank you so much." Really educating, I think, is the best right now. And last year going to Amparo in Brazil was such a rewarding experience because it inevitably cost me nothing. I was going there anyway, and I organized the camp with Shandi Alexander down in Brazil. I would say giving back, coaching right now, giving back that way has been great.
Yeah, that's to me, that was one of the biggest things for me was, getting a chance to experience another culture and another way of playing the game. Watching how they were trying to learn and develop, but then trying to incorporate some of the skills that I thought would be, would work as well as to kind of bridge that gap a little bit. So I get that, where you go, because I'm only 42, so I'm a couple years behind you. But yeah, it's just one of those things where you just kind of go, okay, hey, early 20s, it's all about playing as at a high level, and then you transition from, okay, hey, I just blew my back out, I can't do what I'm supposed to be doing. Now I can try to give some of that knowledge on to some of these younger guys, and still go, man, I could still do that. But then your body says, no, can't. And then now it's just like, now you realize, like, hey, all right, you're done. Let's do this and focus on everything else. But in your case, it's a little bit different because you're able to still get out there and play. And you're going to be representing Team USA coming up here in June, right? I think it's June.
Yeah, we leave June 6th for Haka, and again this year it's not like years past where I'm just a player. I'm being part of the MIHWA organization, which I'll share this. Like if you're looking to hear about an organization and you're thinking about playing, MIHWA is number one. It's not for profit. We're a non-for-profit organization, but number two, the amount of time that's invested in putting this together to maintain not only a competitive atmosphere but a family atmosphere, an atmosphere where everyone is respected and cared for in a way that makes you want to come back and just hang out with the players that you either play with or play against. The atmosphere is fantastic, and we every year we say the same thing. We can't wait to come back. And the days are flying by right now because we're about to get on a plane. So looking forward to meeting everyone again, seeing everyone, but more importantly, executing a fantastic tournament for the 7 days we're there.
Yeah, and that's only coming up in a couple of weeks. My other follow-up question is, how does one get asked to participate for Team USA on the Masters Veterans and Legends? You obviously have to meet the age requirement, but then what else goes into the selection process, if you have any insight on that?
Well, yeah, the other great piece about having these three major tournaments between State Wars, Norwich, and Tours is that over the years, players have been playing against each other, but we also start becoming friends with each other in a way where your faces become more familiar, your talent becomes more obvious, and through these tournaments year after year, we start asking one another, hey, do you want to go to these other tournaments and combine forces, so to speak? And usually this has been started by Rob Chernomid. Rob's been, the one that was spearheading a lot of these tournaments in the years past. And now it's not only has MIHWA gotten bigger, but Team USA has gotten bigger. Instead of going with 9 skaters, it's 12 skaters per team plus 2 goalies. There's a lot of work that goes into that as well. So supporting Rob, trying to take some of the to-dos off Rob's plate. It's important that someone is in charge of one team, and then we kind of communicate through the three of us that way. So Rob will be in charge of the 50s. I'll be in charge of the 45s. And years past, other team members have been in charge of 38s, but Rob is doing now 50s and 38s. So there's a lot, and you want to support and carry some of that burden yourself, right? So it's important we communicate. It's important players are on the same page. But really, I mean, it's the tournaments that bring the attraction to get that call from Rob or myself to join Team USA.
Well, that's, like I said, it's an incredible honor, and for me, as you know, to be able to interview not only you, but you know, everybody else that's a member that has been asked to be a part of Team USA, you know, and even both present and past. You know, I mean, look at JP Bielstein from 2002 to 2009. I mean, that kid had 8 gold medals and 3 silver medals or something like that. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah, he's a phenomenal player, a great talent, and honestly, leading the team last year, Team USA, for the 38s. He was a force out there. So many great players on Team USA last year that helped them win the first ever MIHWA championship for Team USA. But you know, it was a great combination of players from all over the country once again. So you know, kudos to that team.
Yeah, and then not only that, but it just seems like that team got faster this year with your guys' selection. So I'm excited to see how the results go. I know Franny said he was going to try to sneak in an interview while he's over there, and you know, maybe we can get some of a couple of the other guys on as well. You know, and do like a little group. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That'd be awesome. We might be able to do it when we're overseas. That might be pretty cool too. But you want to talk about speed? I mean, as long as Marty Guads is on the team, no one's faster than that guy. If you ever watch Mike Madano back in the day with his jersey flying, that's Marty Guads. He's an incredible talent, and just someone I look forward to watching year after year.
Yeah, and he's actually one of my most watched episode to date. So, you know,
that's impressive. He's a character.
He's amazing, and you know, and I love having Marty on, and I can't wait to have him on again. Phenomenal guy. Every one of you guys have been absolutely phenomenal. So, Mike, I'm not going to take any more of your time. That's going to do it for this episode of GCH Podcast. But yeah, so good luck this in a couple of weeks when you guys are over there. If we get a chance to talk, awesome. If not, I understand you guys are completely busy. But yeah, I'm going to do my part, spread the word, because I feel like you guys deserve it just as much as the actual Team USA. You know that you know. So I can't wish you guys enough luck.
Thank you so much. All the games are televised on YouTube. It's mihwa.org. You'll be able to get the link from the website. So I appreciate the time. Thanks for the invite.
Yep, and I can't wait to. I'll post it up, and we'll be good to go. So have a good night and take care, bud.
Awesome. Thank you so much.